So go for it.
Nope, that's okay, Doris. I will let you lead through session objectives.
So you keep us on track.
You want me to read the session objectives? Sorry.
Yes.
Sure. So today for this session, we are going to look at the elements of a courageous global to local public education campaign, brainstorm and dialogue together to capture and convey the local and global impact of nurses, including nurse practitioners, and share innovative ideas to propel the image and impact of nurses and nursing into the future.
So I think I will, if it's okay with Barbara, first let you, Barbara, about your thoughts on nursing now and where nursing now should go, because here is what I think that needs to happen. I think as much as possible, any good initiative in the world should build into now the year of the nurse, as Aurelio did throughout the year, and next year, the year of the worker, because I believe next year is the year of the healthcare worker. And if we can all connect the dots, if not, there are disparate things going everywhere, and therefore the intensity of the impact is less. And that's one comment overall that I would say. The second is, in this day and age, one doesn't need huge millions of dollars to do a fantastic social media campaign, and sometimes even other aspects in addition to social media. Take the example of the Me Too movement. Take the example of Black Lives Matter. What you need is structures. You need organizations. You need, strong leaders that can bring people to join and to feel compelled to act. Social movements, right? But all of that can be done with resources that doesn't need to be extravagant. Maybe I will let you, Barbara, if you can speak a bit about next year and what's happening.
Still on mute. Thanks, Doris. Yes, I'll say a few words about next year. We have a huge advocacy campaign planned for the first 6 months of the year. We're going to, well, 5 months, so 6 months including December. We're ending in May. And we're going to be handing over our work with groups to ICN. And exactly what they're going to do, that's the International Council for Nurses, exactly what they're going to do, I'm not sure yet, but we are going to be planning that together. So we're not going to lose the assets of nursing now. I believe that one of the key strengths of this campaign is that it has been a convening campaign. We have brought together different interest groups to do with nursing. And although that sounds simple, we know that what nurses are almost best at is internecine fighting. To a point sometimes that I'm astonished at how we can be so detrimental to our own profession sometimes. And I know when I was introducing the nurse practitioner role here in the UK, the people who were the most against it for a while were the community nurses. I could not believe it. And it took me, I had to go negotiate with them and explain, but their first instinct was, no, we don't want to know about this, it's new, you're going to take away our role, we don't want to do it. So I think we have to look inwards, and that's what we did in nursing now. We looked at nursing, and we identified that when you go to country level, you may have a chief nurse, but if the chief nurse isn't supported by the Professional Nurses Association, there are going to be loads of, the PNA is calling for a strike. The chief nurse can't say she supports the strike. What is the PNA going to do? Then there's the education, they want to recruit students from here, there, and everywhere. Then there's the migration of nurses to other countries. And who brings those people together to talk to each other? And what we found was nobody. there's nobody. It's nobody's job. So what Nursing Now did was, when we never decided to convene groups, but when people wrote to us and said, we would like to have a Nursing Now group, we put our heads together and we said, okay, great idea, but here's what you need to do. You need to have the CNO, the PNA, the educationist. You need somebody who's not a nurse to be on the group. You need the young nurses to be represented on the groups. So we said it's a condition of calling yourself a group that you have these people. And of course, in the early days, we were invited when we could travel to go and launch a lot of these groups. So we absolutely insisted on meeting all of these people. And, you know, it's been a real power, I think, for advocacy. So I think that's one thing we've learned. And next April, we're going to have a mass political lobby. It's actually going to run between March and April. We're going to support all our groups with materials and ways of doing this. And you might want to do that too, because I know you're so good at it, and, you know, sharing some of your materials, even doing another webinar with us, you know, to show how to do it. And we'd originally thought that we would like to have people actually go to the ministry and light a candle, including the minister, and say, this is our manifesto to shine a light on nursing in our country. Minister, this is what we'd like you to do. But of course, those days have passed us by. I don't think anybody's going to be shining lights or lighting candles for a while. So we are going to do it over time, but we're going to get each group to say what they do and share it, you know, around the world. The idea being that if we're all speaking together, somebody has to hear us. You know, it's a lot, although if it's one voice, that's good. If it's 1,000 voices, it's very hard to ignore all of them. So, you know, that's what we're going to be trying to influence. We're also aiming high. We're going to try and influence the World Bank Spring Meeting next year. Try to get some data in there, trying to get them to look at what investing in nursing means as we recover from the pandemic. You know, what's that going to look like, and how much money are they going to invest, and who's going to advocate for that investment to be made? Who's going to be accountable? So that's what we're aiming at as well. So, but what we're really trying to do is to look at the force field around nursing as an advocacy project. So what are the forces that shape us? And I talked about 3 of them in my presentation. The thing that's most disturbing, I think, is that this is probably unchanged in the last 60 years, the influences on nursing. And what we have now is this opportunity, and now it's a double whammy opportunity. We have the post-COVID claiming the superhero image. You know, what do we want that to be? How are we going to explain it? Building back better, and we have to be a part of that. But we also have social media, and we have the opportunity to create a real big wave, you know, around the world, so that nurses are actually saying, look at us, you know, without us, there's no healthcare. So that's where we're going next year, Doris. We hope you'll be with us.
We will. Did you hear your thing click?
I did, yes. I didn't look at it though, because I was speaking.
Absolutely, we will. Absolutely, we will.
Wonderful.
Yes, as we were before, we will continue to be. I think that in relationship to a social campaign, then in particular for nurse practitioners, very similar to what you said at the micro level. I think that RNO needs to be mindful of linking it to nursing in general. And I don't even mean only RNs, I mean RPNs also. And that we need to leverage very much on what happened during COVID. Hence why in many ways it's good that we didn't release yet the entire report, but are pushing specific initiatives in the report and recommendations forward. Because sometimes when you release the whole thing, you know, other groups that may not be so interested in nursing shining or in peace shining may just suffocate, as I'm saying, let's suffocate the virus. So I think the connection that you spoke with the chief nurse, I think the fact that Michelle is involved with us here and that we absolutely need to connect, and I call it the insider-outsider game, right? What can she push from inside that I push also? And yes, I have direct link to the premier, this and past and future, I can say. So it doesn't matter which party, that is very useful, as is the connection with other health associations. I'm talking whether it's long-term care, or you heard the deputy speak about our work with home care agencies and associations, whether it's the hospital. The silver lining of COVID has been to bring all these CEOs together, very much so. And finally, interestingly enough, Barbara, all of a sudden you hear comments like saying, I know you have been trying to push this and that, I'm now willing to talk. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I play the Florence Nightingale lecture, just bow and say wonderful and go and talk. And don't say, where have you been till now? And keep going, right? Because I think although you say nothing has changed in the 60 years, COVID has changed a lot.
Yeah, true.
And we do hear now that people are, I mean nurses, whether RNs, RPNs or others, a bit fed up and want to actually retire early. For the first time, I truly hear that. And I think now is the time that the system needs to wake up, put nursing in the pedestal that belongs, not in clapping, but in funding, and positioning and peace everywhere that NPs need to be, RNs, RPNs, etc. And let's get on with the show, because let's be real, doctors alone cannot run the system even if they want. Even if they want. So now is our time, and I do believe social media is the medium. It's the medium because it's so contagious. And RNO has a lot of, not only RNO, let me tell you this, Spain has huge traction in social media. Latin America, or BPSOs and others, huge traction. The world of Twitteries in nursing has multiplied and quadrupled, and just with tentacles everywhere. I think we need to leverage this moment to, in a sense, the campaign will help us develop these leaders further for this campaign, but then for future ones. So that's what I'm mulling over here. And I did speak, I mentioned to you, with the person that led the social media campaign for Obama back then. And I will put some of the books. You mentioned books of gender. I will mention you this book of this individual, Rahouf, which is excellent. And I do think that we need to create social media experts and gurus. We were surprised, or I was surprised, at our assembly. Every year we let the assembly speak about what do they want for policy and membership to drive it forward, to what type of campaigns. And two very young women spoke about what she's doing as a learner, she said, in Twitter and in Facebook. And I was like, she knew way more than any of us already, right? So I think we need to leverage in the energy that people are bringing and that they get from these activities to both further the role of NPs everywhere, as well as the profession and new leaders, new leaders. Marian and Madison, any ideas from you? You are on mute both.
Well, I want to thank you, Doris, and thank Sally and Ermagine and others. what I want to do today is I want to hear from the NPs that are part of this, because I can talk about what makes a good social media campaign, and I'll spend a couple of minutes doing that. But I think what you want to do is you want to think about ideas for a campaign that really strike at feeling. What is it about your practice that makes you proud to be an NP? What is it about your patients and the care that you've given them that you know makes them value the relationship that you have, the therapeutic relationship that you have with them? What would they say about the care that you deliver? What would you say about the care you deliver? What would you say about the role that you play in the healthcare system? So these are things that you want to think about, because for a social media campaign to be successful, obviously you have a message to say. What is the purpose, the goal, the objectives? But what is it that you're trying to say? And it has to be as specific as possible, if possible. But it needs to resonate. It needs to have that sense of feeling so that the person on the receiving end of your social media campaign can identify, can empathize, can say, yes, I've experienced that too, or I want to experience that too. Wow, I didn't know that NPs did that. So those are sort of some general broad things that I just wanted to throw out there, because I think it's important that we hear from you as opposed to us telling you what the campaign ought to be. And then I'll just stop there and see if Madison wants to add anything. Obviously, there are key elements of a social media campaign, key things that you want to share. And if there's time in the day, I will be willing to share those.
And let's please just to be mindful also of what Barbara very importantly said. Because maybe I distracted people moving to social media only. Could be more than social media. Basically, what Marianne is saying, what are the messages you would want to convey, right? That's really whether it's social media or other means, and that will resonate with all the different players in nursing and outside of nursing.
Yes, Doris, I was just gonna mention that point as well, that social media could be a jumping off point, but how do you like to be communicated to? Where do you get your main messages and those kind of ideas? So really think outside of the box. The limit doesn't exist here. The bigger the idea, the better.
I just wanted to say, Marion, your comments have resonated in the chat box. People are saying they talk about spending time with patients, that they focus on the person, and so that patients feel heard. They treat their patients as people. And
barriers. Look at the one.
Reducing barriers for people, helping them to understand their illness trajectory. Those are really critical messages to frame into bigger messages, I think.
So the nursing, the best deal in town.
Yes, that's right, Doris. That's exactly right. Could I just say that I think one idea you might consider, which is a bit more sort of off the wall, is doing what they do if they're trying to sell chocolate bars or, something in advertising, which is they gather together a group of people and they say to them, if you were a chocolate bar, what sort of chocolate bar would you be? And why? And then, if you were that chocolate bar, what color wrapper would you want and why? And, you could think of some similar questions about nurse practitioners, things like you could have sentence finishing. I went to see the nurse practitioner because, and get them to finish it. A nurse practitioner is not a doctor because. And, you could use that. That would be a really interesting investment of you could do it virtually. I'm sure advertising agencies are doing it all the time. But it would be an interesting investment because it would let you know what people are thinking.
Well, and can I just jump on what Barbara said, because it's excellent, the idea of filling in the blanks, because I had been thinking about this prior, like, what is it about being an MP that is unique, or what is it about an MP that makes our health system better. You know, you want to key in on the NP aspect, because in my expertise, in my you know, conversations with NPs, they will allow you to talk exactly about what it is that your care needs are, right? Often, and I'm not trying to slight physicians, but often it's like, come with one complaint only, please. You see that posted sometimes in a primary care office. Only 2 complaints or 1 complaint per visit. It's incredible that that's how you're being, you know, that's your experience. You haven't even had a chance to talk to your healthcare provider. I don't think NPs do that.
No, that's absolutely right. And I'm just reminded of a line from a poem by Bertolt Brecht, which was, I have a pain in my arm and damp in my kitchen. And to me, that was like the essence of my primary care practice in a really low-income, poverty-stricken area. You know, people came in with a physical symptom, but once you asked them, it was really the damp in the kitchen that was the problem.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
And I see some interesting messages here. The way the message is delivered is important. Someone talking about the Ottawa Public Health Facebook posts, acknowledging the experiences of people. And they have a bit of a sense of humor too, and they use a novel way in appealing to people. Hoodoo is saying having capacity, meeting her clients at their level of readiness, autonomy and competence to do it. Again, in NICU, the relationship and being present over time. And again, paying attention to detail, listening, time and relationship. Kay is saying, from today, I learned that the campaign needs to include the skills and the feelings to refocus, balance the perspective that nursing is a soft skill. Barbara, that was your comment this morning.
And I think that's so important. And you can see Udo spoke about competence and autonomy, and others spoke about relationship, and it's all of the above, isn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, if you go back to the 50s, Hildegard Peplau in her model of nursing, really, you know, she really told us what that was about. It's really about having the science of nursing, but you deliver it within a relationship between you and the person you're looking after. And the art of nursing is to establish and maintain that relationship into which the science comes. And, you know, it's the science that enables you to think, is it the damp in the kitchen, or do I need to be thinking something else about this pain in the arm? You know, which arm is it? And what age is this person? What sex is this person? It's that how you marry the art and the science together. You listen deeply, but you listen with a scientific mind as well as establishing that relation. You can tell I feel passionate about this.
No, I'm just enamored. I am just enamored by your capacity to articulate that so beautifully.
Oh, well, I think about it a lot, actually.
No, beautiful.
You know, Jennifer Cowan has shared a really important message about the balance that given the patient load that is challenging, sometimes she does find it difficult to manage her passion for patient care and the realities and the respect for other patients' needs. Any comments on that in terms of how that's perceived or framed in messaging?
So, you know, we hear the same with RNs, with RPNs. I always say to people on behalf of RNO, of course, we are trying to fix staffing and more people, etc. But always, at the very least, let's use the little or lots of the time we have in the best possible way. You know, Nightingale spoke about she spoke about painters, if you remember, and she said, but what's the canvas of the human being, right? Comparing to a painter, right? And if you go now to Barbara, the issue of you think about the science of what we're doing, whether you are an RN, an RPN, or a NP, just the scope will be different, and you deliver it within the you deliver it in the most exquisite relationship that you can build. Because not actually, you will be delivering cold science that may not fit that individual. So of course, if you have more time, it will be better, but not always you do. But what's important, and I discovered that in my own research a decade ago, is not only the time that you have in one intervention, it's the time you have over time.
Yes.
Because it's the continuity of that relationship.
Yeah.
And that is what NPs so beautifully do, the continuity of relationship that may not allow you today to put all your scientific expertise to what that person preferences, choices, context, material life that they have or lack of. But tomorrow you can do a little bit more, the day after a little bit more, and you do it in both ways, the relationship that gets deeper and the ability to apply science as much as possible in the context of that person's life. And in some people, you will not be able to do a lot of it because they don't have even the basic necessities of life, especially if they don't have universal access to health services like we do. In some other countries, they don't have it.
And sometimes you're absolutely right, Doris, I think, and sometimes you can actually get somebody to come back at a later time if the science is telling you that this isn't critical that day to be dealt with. You know, you can say, I really want to hear what you're saying, but I've got 100 people waiting for me. So, you know, it would be really good if we could arrange to talk at length and make sort of deal with it that way. And that's why it's important, it's critical that we are scientists. We have to be. You know, so you don't send the person out of the room who drops dead in the waiting room. You've got to pick the right person to say, come back in a week, you know, and we'll talk then. So I think we can't underestimate the importance of either the deep listening or the science that informs that.
So Dania will remember we had this session with all the Ontario health teams that we lead, and one of the the guideline they're implementing is foundational, is person and family centered care. And Dania, you may remember the colleague that shared the experience, not a nurse, a community worker, shared the experience of a person with substance use. It just stuck with me to my heart, and said to, and of course this nurse practitioner was talking about, you know, what medications you need now, what you need to do now, etc. And then this healthcare worker came, and the individual said, would you mind coming with me to church? And this person thought, I don't have time for this. In his head, thank goodness, in his head, I don't have time for this. But then they didn't have the heart to say no, said yes, and went to the church, and they were having a common meal, right, Dania? And he understood the reality, and he understood the strength that human connection brought to that person, likely more than the medications, right, Dania? Was amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there, the worker left the client's his driver's seat and let the client drive, and then he realized that he had a connection with a psychiatrist on site, another social worker, another peer, his pharmacy. He got his medication renewed like that with no delays. He was able to see how the client was able to thrive, you know, as testament to the work that he had done on his mental health issues. It was a beautiful story that you put actually on your blog earlier.
That's true. So I will send it to people. So yeah, Dania, maybe you can share from your experience to the question of Marian and of Madison and all of us. If you got if we were to ask you to do a couple of tweets about dot, dot, dot. I'm a nurse practitioner because dot, dot, dot. Or my work as a nurse practitioner allows clients to dot, dot, dot. Or if we were also Marian and Madison to engage the public on something like this, my gosh, that would be powerful, right? What would you say, Dania?
Oh my gosh. You caught me off guard because I just hung up on the phone to deal with an urgent matter. I don't know what I would say, but I want to see more NPs though, that's for sure. I miss them, and we're only working with a handful of them, and I really like to see more NPs at the OHT levels, certainly in Ottawa. I think, you know, all this talk about not being able to include the voice of the physicians in the decisions, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but the NPs are there too. They provide primary care, and they can go through in between silos so much more effectively and efficiently than physicians. And that's just the hard truth. So I'm sure I'll come up with something more tight too.
Alicia, you work in the hospital setting at this, right? What would you say, Alicia? I don't know if Alicia is still there or Priya. Let's hear
Priya.
from Go
Priya's
for it.
here.
Go for it.
Maybe not.
Any of the colleagues that have not shared in their presentations, because those were powerful, and Marian and Madison, when you watch them, you will just be, yeah. Any of the colleagues, Sue, Adams, or any of the other colleagues that would like to share? Jennifer, Nicole. Maureen, you work in NICU, Maureen, and I see your comment here. You want to comment on that a bit? Are people on mute and trying to talk? And can you guys look at that? Because I am only looking at some of these beautiful comments here.
I am too. I don't know if Nicole is here. She's just made a comment.
Nicole,
Yes, I
unmute
noticed that.
yourself. Let's hear from her. Nicole,
Yeah,
here.
I'm here. I'm here. Are you talking about Nicole Saunier? How? Is there only
We're
one
talking
Nicole?
about
Yes, it's you.
Yes. Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everybody. So, and I'm sorry, what was the question? I just had put the comment that having worked with Dania in the past, working, and I've actually worked in a range of settings. I've worked with Indigenous peoples up north, worked in the hospital, worked CHCs, worked community mental health and addictions. You know, I've seen over and over how nurse practitioners, especially those in outreach roles, can really, what's the word? Really bring clients back into wanting to be within that healthcare and social service care circle. And it really kind of, you know, in building that trust, it really helps them, increase their motivation to seek care for their outstanding health and social service needs, right? So, yeah, I've seen that over and over.
I think Marian wants to make, yes, Marian, please.
So I noticed the slide said, did it say provocative proposals or something?
It said provocative questions,
Questions.
outrageous ideas.
I've got one. I've got
Go
one.
for it.
What if,
Go for it.
what if
Good.
NPs didn't exist?
Sorry, we couldn't hear.
What if NPs didn't exist?
That's fantastic.
Right? Like, these are the kinds of things, this is the sort of what you call brainstorming, writing on the wall. You ask all kinds of questions, you pose all sorts of scenarios, and somehow you'll get a kernel of, oh, okay, like yeah, that's what we should talk about, or that's what we should focus on. So what if how would you answer that question? What does that mean for you, your patients, for your contribution to the health system?
And it's Clara Nissen. I'm nurse practitioner and long-term care director of care. I just want to add that during the pandemic, we were so crucial. And this would be the best question, what it would be when physician didn't come at all, you know, for months and months and months, that we took the toll. We've worked such a patient-centered care involving RNAO, and also doing the best practices, you know, trying to do the best practices as Spotlight organization, working together with the hospital, you know. I'm at Mackenzie Health. So it was crucial to have a nurse practitioner on site all the time, 24/7. I was on call as well. So, and being like in dual to be clinical director of care services. So I think it was amazing work. It was very important for us, very difficult, but rewarding. And we can say that nurse practitioner is crucial to any facility, to long-term, to any facility, I would say.
And do you think that the administration and the board and the family council finally realized that?
I think so, you know, finally when the physician didn't come and, you know, the only care provider with prescribing and diagnosing and referring and avoiding unnecessary, you know, transfer to emergency room when the emergency room is full. I think everybody realized the importance of nurse practitioner. So maybe not 100%, but they opened the door of thinking, I think.
If tomorrow there would be the possibility to make NP's director, not director, medical director, do you think your organization will jump and say yes?
It's a big question mark, you know, I can say. It's also, again, it's political and it's, yeah, so political question. But if we would have, instead of, for example, we have 6 at the most responsible provider, 1 nurse practitioner and medical director, if we would have 2 physicians and 1 nurse practitioner for 170 residents, it would be more efficient. And it would work very nicely in long-term care. But long-term care needs nurse practitioner.
No doubt. In my mind, after what we went through, and we know what the 60 that we have did, if it's one sector that needs, well, several, in fact, and that will be in the report, all the vulnerable populations. So long-term care, shelters, correctional facilities, all of the vulnerable populations can benefit from NPs more than any other healthcare group. Really.
And especially the mental health aspect, you know, that we are dealing with dementia, depression, schizophrenia, so on, every aspect of medical issues that we have here, dialysis, you know, G-tubes and so on. So it's so kind of, it's now the long-term care, it's not like 20 or 10 years ago, it's complex continuing care, it's complex, plus. The funding is not enough for our population, and we have to really advocate for this for our vulnerable population. This is my thought about this.
Thank you. So well stated. I think I see hands or people that want to speak. Nora, you were commenting too?
Hi, Doris. Yes. Oh, I was just, I just want to comment just about today because it's been a rough COVID year, professionally and personally. And this has just been such a wonderful day to connect with NPs and leaders that really do care about us.
So you guys are the leaders. That we care about you is true, but you're the leaders.
Thank you, Doris. So I work, in a unique setting, in a non-traditional setting with transitional care for the seniors that are asked to leave the hospital because there's no more space, but they're not safe to return home. So it's an in-between period of life, and it's a very painful time for most of my patients because they might have felt abandoned by their families, sometimes even abandoned by, well, their doctors for sure, if they've known them all their life. And it's a very hard time for these seniors. As an NP, currently I'm the only NP in our region. So there's 150 beds. I believe it's just expanded. You know, trying to meet the needs of these seniors. So it's so rewarding, but at a systems level, it's extremely challenging and frustrating.
Exhausting.
Exhausting, yes.
No, for real, exhausting.
It is. I mean, one basic thing I would love to, like, everyone talks about the virtual care, but I'm in retirement home sector, so I don't have the patients there, or my patients don't even have access to a telephone. And if they do have a doctor that's possibly still involved in their care, their doctor might not have seen them for years, but there's no visual even connection to do an assessment of any kind or conversation.
Yeah.
So it does make it exhausting, but
Yeah.
you keep trying your best, you keep plodding along, but it's like, gosh, what century am I working in? I feel like I could be back with Florence and learning all the ideas from her, especially in collecting these statistics.
So for example, the element of, my NP ... or if you yourselves feel like you would be willing to contribute. I think it's important to know that those among you that are willing to share your stories, we love your ideas too, but also to take it a step further and have a story to share that we think could be featured as part of a campaign.
Some of that we already asked during the day, Marianne, so we are going to get a few submissions, but we definitely could look at more, both for submissions, but also to continue the conversation of how we take it forward. And I will connect also with Barbara to see how we connect the dots with other larger things or initiatives around the world. Before we wrap up, because I know I got a notice here that is 4:03, so thank you. Someone is keeping me on track. Before we wrap up, maybe, I don't know if there is a poll where people can do an overall evaluation of it. I know we are sending an evaluation. You saw that online. They will be sending that to you. Any departing comments? I want to just say that it was a privilege to be with all of you, to hear new experiences and some that I had heard during the difficult times. To my colleagues at Areneo that help organize all of you, thank you. Amazing, amazing day. To Barbara for joining us. Thank you for always being willing and ready and thoughtful and just a source of wisdom and expertise and strategy. Thank you so very much. And to my co-chair that I hope she didn't leave us.
No.
Elisa, thank you, Lisa. We are going to have a spectacular report. I do think, guys, that we will go back to the report that goes for the entire task force and read it. I know in the last version, but read it with what we heard today, just to make sure we are not missing any important pearls that we heard today, and also to feature some snippets of videos, etc. So the report becomes very dynamic. To those of you that were on the panels, again and again, thank you. Sally for being the co-chair of NPIG, and Hudo that is with APNG, and Beth, thank you very, very much. An amazing, amazing day, amazing speakers, but more than anything, amazing camaraderie and togetherness. So thank you very much. And I don't know, Barb, if you want to make a few closing remarks, and then Elisa and any of the colleagues online. I know that probably Catherine, Imagine, a few comments. Barbara, first you.
Thanks, Doris. I'm not going to say much, but because you said it so well, you articulated it so well. It's been wonderful to be here and to be with such courageous nurse practitioners. Wonderful stories to share, and thank you for sharing them. Really appreciate them. Somebody had put a comment in the box a bit earlier saying, you know, yes, I really appreciate the relationship. It's very important, but I also want to know what I do to contribute to the health system. And I just want to close by saying, never underestimate what you do to contribute to the health system, because if you really listen to somebody and really understand what their needs are, you're contributing so much to the way the health system functions, because you're dealing with something that's a real problem rather than what somebody imagines is the problem. And when I was working as a nurse practitioner, I got to know this elderly lady, and after I got to know her for about 6 months, she opened a cupboard in her kitchen where she had 5 years supply of tablets that she'd never taken because she didn't believe they worked. And it took me, you know, several months of getting to know her before she felt confident enough to show me these tablets.
Amazing.
And she didn't tell the doctor because she didn't like to upset him. And I thought that was just absolutely a classic. You know, I'm sure we all have these stories, but we do make an impact. So never forget that. Hang in there. We're making an impact.
I just wanted to summarize too, Barbara, you challenged us to be disruptive. And I just wanted to say that part of our Canadian culture is to always apologize. And we do so out of guilt and fear of rejection. But as nurse practitioners, we are trailblazers, which means we blaze the trail to guide others. And I just want to encourage my colleagues and also the nurses, because they are our colleagues as well, to encourage us all to go boldly where no one has gone before. And that's actually what makes nurse practitioners special, because we are willing to go there.
Excellent, Sally, excellent. Elisa?
I'm not sure if Alyssa is on anymore, Doris.
Okay, okay. Imagine, Catherine?
Sure, I would be happy to provide some closing comments, mostly just with so much gratitude and thanks to everyone who joined us today, but especially to all of our speakers who provided graciously so much time to help us prepare for the symposium and to make it a really spectacular event for all of our NP colleagues joining us. And a special shout out, of course, to Barbara, who is joining us from the UK and on a time zone much further behind than us, and staying up maybe a little bit later than normal to join us for this. So thank you to you. And as well, again, just to all of our members who are here today from the panel, speaking and sharing their expertise. It was a great day, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine, and thanks for all your amazing work. Any of the colleagues that is bursting to say a comment from the NPs? Anybody? Imagine also you.
Sure, I'll make a comment while others might be thinking. And I do want to absolutely reinforce what many have said about thanking the entire team, including all of those who have been here with us today. You've been engaged, you've shared comments, you've shared with each other. I think it's come the closest to networking with a capital N that we can do in this time. It has it's been really exciting to see how this day has come full circle with some of the early comments, the task force report. Barbara, your amazing opening keynote, and then how we've concluded with the tone that we must march together to make our voices heard for better patient care and health system outcomes. And I think the speakers we've had have been tremendous. And it's so great to see, Sally, how you're leading the charge with NPIG and really helping us all know what is before us and what we can do. And Doris, as always, thank you for being this warrior again in another area of NP practice for better health system outcomes.
Thank you. Thank you, Imagine. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Sally, to all of you. And I think we once again catch the ear of the deputy and don't undermine the importance of that. She is on the side of RNO. They want to deliver to RNO. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. More to come and more to push. And I know that Marianne and Madison and all of you will help us push in various ways. And I think, and Marianne mentioned that, and at some in some points I asked you to send us submissions. Don't wait. Don't wait to send us submissions. 500 to 700,000 words max. Some will go in the blog. Some will go in the journal. Pour yourself in, because you know after that COVID will be gone. I mean, not that I don't want COVID to be gone. We all want COVID to be gone. But when COVID is gone, we will be so fed up with it that we will not want to go back to our thoughts of what happened during COVID. So use it as therapy, please. Pour yourself. We can help you shape it. And let's get that, because that is as important as social media. So all those mediums, we will find ways. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Barbara, I will call you just for 1 second from you, because I know you need to go to sleep. And Marianne wrote to me that I have 5 interviews, but I need to speak with you about something important.